and we're giving you a prophetic news update. And I want to talk about an important subject, Bible prophecy, but I want to talk about Bible prophecy and technology. And I want to talk specifically about what is called transhumanism, or the quest for a post-human species. Now, I go into a great deal of detail about this in my brand new DVD series entitled, Are You Ready for the Coming One World Government? Are You Ready for the Coming One World Economic System? And Are You Ready for the Coming One World Religion? A 3 DVD set, and I talk about this in this new DVD set at length, as well as interfacing some of the technology we're going to talk about, the Nephilim, the genetic manipulation of merging the DNA of animal and human being, and possibly Nephilim. I go into the prophetic scenario of all of this in my 3 DVD series, Are You Ready?, which you need to get as soon as possible, as it will be released. And by the time you hear this message, you'll be able to go to paulmcguire.org, paulmcguire.org, and McGuire is McGuire, and find out about it. I want to go to a passage in the Bible, and we've been talking a great deal about this, and I think it's very important, and that is the fact that God created man, male and female, in his own image. And the implication of that, of course, is that not only is mankind made in the image of God, and we're talking about body, soul, and spirit, but also Adam and Eve had the DNA of God. Now, that's pretty heavy, but it's something that we need to consider. So genetically, we have the genetic code of God. Now, the fall of man occurred, and that's when Adam and Eve disobeyed God, and they listened to the tempter, the father of lies, Lucifer, who embodied a serpent, and the central thrust of the spiritual battle back then, as it is today, is that they got Adam and Eve to disobey or to doubt God's word. And every spiritual battle today revolves around the fact that the devil tries to get you to doubt God's word in your private life or in a societal life. Now, I want to talk about this DNA of God, but I want to go into Genesis chapter 6. Many of you are very familiar with it. There have been a number of very excellent Bible teachers. A friend of mine, Chuck Misler, has gone into great detail about this, as well as others. And I want to talk about Genesis chapter 6 and why God judged the earth. Now, I want to read you Genesis chapter 6, or at least part of it. Starting at verse 1. Now it came to pass when man began to multiply in the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them. Now this multiplication that occurred before the flood, there are estimates that there were approximately 9 billion people on planet Earth. And this whole idea that we're running out of room today is complete nonsense. God created planet Earth as an infinite system, and it has an infinite capacity to feed the inhabitants of planet Earth. And you say, well, how can you say that? Well, because God's primary commandment to the human race was, and is today, be fruitful and multiply. And that wasn't just written for an agricultural society. That applies today. So if God's commandment was to be fruitful and multiply, then no matter how great the human race expanded numerically, the earth would be able to contain that population expansion. very comfortably. And, Buckminster Fuller used the term spaceship Earth. Well, spaceship Earth doesn't get overcrowded. That comes from the Malthusian philosopher in the 1800s, Malthus, who came up with the idea that all of mankind's problems were due to overpopulation. And the elite in our world embrace Malthusian ideas with a religious fervor, and apart from reason, I might add, because this earth is capable of containing any number of people that reproduce on it, because that's the way God designed it. But of course, in order to understand that, you have to believe that there is a God who created planet Earth. Now, me, given a choice between worshiping the earth, as many people in elite occult circles do, and they call Earth Gaia and believe that Gaia has living consciousness, and like the ancient pagans, they worship the earth. Given a choice between worshiping the earth and worshiping the infinite personal living God of the universe who created the earth any day of the week, I'll worship the infinite personal living God of the universe who created the earth. So we read this passage, and it talks about the daughters were born to them after this multiplication of the population on planet Earth. Now this is important, so let's go down to verse 2. That the sons of God saw the daughters of men, and that they were beautiful, and they took wives for themselves of all of whom they chose. Now, this particular term is the sons of God took wives from among the human race, or the daughters of men. But now, notice the difference here. On one hand, we're talking about the sons of God, and then we're talking about the daughters of men. So the daughters of men very clearly appear to be the genetic offspring of men. And in this particular reference, in juxtaposition, the sons of God don't appear to be the genetic offspring of men, but God appears to be using that to refer to something else. And I believe he was referring to the demonic entities that stepped over God's great boundary and in a natural way had sexual relations with human women, demons or fallen angels having unnatural sexual relations with women, thus corrupting the DNA. And God was very specific about not corrupting DNA. He goes into it in detail in Genesis, and we'll get into that. God forbade, for example, men and women having sexual relationships with animals. That's called bestiality. But what even was more perverse to God, that if somehow in that deviant act could there be a manipulation of the DNA to produce a hybrid or a mixture of animal and man. And in the laboratories all around the world today, and I talked about this up on the cliffs of Malibu. You need to really watch that YouTube because God spoke to me about it before I was aware that the laboratories exist. So I'm not trying to claim to be something that I'm not, but I believe that God supernaturally revealed to me the presence of laboratories where there were cloning and genetic experiments involving the attempt to merge the DNA of animal and man and to create a super race. Now, God didn't reveal to me where the laboratories were. He didn't reveal to me the exact nature of the experiments or the names of the scientists. I think God protected me, so he gave me a very, very limited insight into their existence. And the sum total of the insight that God gave me, you can watch on that YouTube, which is on my YouTube channel. So let's continue on. And the Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, for he indeed is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. Now listen carefully. There were giants on the earth in those days, and also afterwards. So now God moves into the fact that there are giants on the earth. Who were these giants? Well, God tells us. When the sons of God, which would be the offspring of demons having relations with women, they produced the giants of old. And it says there were giants on the earth in those days and also afterwards, when the sons of God came into the daughters of men. The sons of God coming into the daughters of men. But these sons of God are demons. They're fallen angels. And they bore children. And that we get the word Nephilim or the Nephilim. And these are the offspring of demons and human women. And so we have a mixture of demonic DNA with human DNA. Now, that is, I believe, the primary cause why God judged the human race. That was the ultimate line in the sand.